Well, the project has 4 stages in it. The first stage is a mapping stage, and along with our partners at the UCL Institute of Education, Sophia University and the University of Twente, we in the Centre for Evaluation, Quality and Inspection at Dublin City University are trying to map the current state of play, as it were, in relation to evaluation. We're trying to look at some, maybe 3 to 4 exemplars of polycentric evaluation to see if they exist, and if so, what their characteristics are, and also to look in general at the inspection space within Europe in particular. The second stage of that then is to do an extensive literature review in and around evaluation theory, and our element of it at EQI is to look at social networking, because we would argue that a critical part of polycentric evaluation is the networking concept, and clearly quite a lot of work has been done up to now in the area of social networking, but very little of it has really been transferred into the area of schools, school evaluation, school inspections, quality assurance, or even how schools themselves choose to organise as entities. And I think one of the arguments we're making is that schools who organise in clusters or in networks are potentially stronger than schools who operate alone, I think, as would be expected given the underlying concept of polycentrism. The third part of the process is actually scoping good examples across Europe. Now, we have been lucky with our partners in ETI and in West Belfast to actually uncover what we think is a very good example of what we're choosing to identify as polycentric evaluation. And we've spent quite a lot of time working with colleagues there, working with the inspectorate, working with the local education community, working with the local community, examining what exactly it is that they do in the context of school improvement, school evaluation, and really in a very serious way in them trying to work together as a range of bodies, both statutory and non-statutory, to improve the quality of provision in a relatively deprived part of the world. And yet what we've seen, at least in the initial part of our research, is the way in which a coordinated, a concerted community approach to improvement within education can really raise standards across the board, and not in a threatening way, not in an invasive way, not in a way that makes people feel as if somebody is coming to do something to them. It's really a community response, identifying education as being a critical part of the development of a community, and then finding the resources internally to actually improve the quality of that. And I suppose that's part of our mission, we would see in the Centre for Evaluation, Quality and Inspection as well. It's the opportunity to give schools and schools within communities, to give them the opportunity, but also to give them the skills and the tools with which to enhance and improve the quality of what they do on the first part, and then secondly, to give them the ability and the language to explain what they do to a wider audience. And I suppose the third part of that is to work in partnership with the statutory bodies, such as inspectorates, who are critically important partners in this, to allow the inspectorates offer advice in a way that meets their accountability agenda, but meets the accountability agenda in a manner that's actually developmental rather than challenging. And the fourth part of the project is actually looking at the impact, and looking at the impact of the exemplars of polycentric evaluation that we find across the different European countries involved, and perhaps comparing and contrasting them to more centralised models of evaluation, which maybe would be the more traditional idea that has underpinned evaluation, at least in the last 10 or 15 years. And again, working with our partners in the inspectorate and in SICI as well, we see that this is an opportunity perhaps to publicise in a more structured and coherent manner the ideas underpinning polycentrism, and providing perhaps an arena for debate or a position for debate that we can actually talk about different modes and different models of evaluation, some of which will work in some contexts, others will work in other contexts, but it's to increase the menu or broaden the suite of options available for all of us who are interested in the idea of improving quality and improving education.